In order to improve our ability to draw with perspective, we first need to learn how to use a ruler effectively. So today we're going to make an abstract work of art using a ruler. Do you remember the main idea of perspective? It's that an object gets smaller the farther it is away from you, and we can calculate how small it is using mathematical principles. The system of perspective became widely used during the Renaissance. Artists like Michelangelo, Leonardo, and Raphael created masterpieces of illusion, transforming a flat wall, like this one in the Vatican, into a seemingly vast space. While the idea had been around for a long time, an artist named Brunelleschi is credited with being the first person to describe the system of perspective. Before Brunelleschi, medieval artists didn't use perspective. This painting does look somewhat realistic, but there just seems to be something off. If we observe the painting more closely, the men in the back appear to be standing, but the men in the front appear to be sitting, so that table looks like it's being tipped over towards the men on the floor. In this painting, notice the size of the workers in relation to the size of the rich people on the right. And here you can see that the artist tried to make the church and the walls and the city houses look 3D, but look at how large the people are in comparison to the city walls and houses. Contrast all this with the painting The Delivery of the Keys by Pietro Perugino, which was painted during the Renaissance using the system of perspective. It almost looks like you could step into this painting. The system of perspective relies on the artist's ability to create precise lines. And so the activity that we're going to do today is going to exercise our ability to use a ruler accurately to make the lines go exactly where we intend them to go. You ready? Let's get started. For this project, you're going to need the following supplies: a couple pieces of white paper, a pencil, an eraser, and a ruler. You'll also need something to color with. I'm going to use watercolor paint, but you can choose crayons, colored pencils, markers, oil pastels, whatever you have in your house. If you are painting, make sure that you have a paintbrush and a rag or paper towel and a cup of water. During this demonstration, you're going to see me drawing with Sharpie, but you probably want to be able to erase your mistakes, so I recommend you draw with a pencil and have an eraser close by. To envision where my line is going to go, I'm going to begin by making 2 dots anywhere on my paper. High, low, doesn't matter, just make sure they're fairly far apart. Now I'm going to position my ruler so that the edge of my ruler is touching both dots. And it's got to be the same edge of the ruler. You can't have one dot touching this side and one dot touching the other side. They both have to be touching the same side. So I'm going to position my ruler. Make sure the dots are touching the side, and I'm going to hold it down firmly with my non-dominant hand while I draw that line. Well, it looks like I ran out of ruler space. I'll come back to that later. There's my first line, and you notice it's nice and straight, and you can see barely those 2 dots on the line. I'm going to make another line now. I'm going to add 2 dots on the paper anywhere I want. Lining my ruler up with those 2 dots so that that same edge of the ruler touches those 2 dots. I'm going to hold down the ruler really firmly with the hand that's not drawing. And then I'm going to draw my line, pressing against the ruler and down onto the paper as I go. I'm going to make the end of the line here a dot. And maybe I'll do another dot over here. Just like before, placing my ruler so that both dots are touching the same edge of the ruler, holding it down firmly and tracing my line. see if I can get this line to go all the way across the paper. I'm lining up my ruler right along that line. The line is just touching the edge of the ruler, and I'll start my line where I left off and to the edge of the paper. Hey, worked out pretty well. I'm going to continue adding lines until I have about 10 lines on the piece of paper. Remember, I'm making those 2 dots, connecting them with the ruler, pressing down firmly, and then drawing the line. I can make that line go to the edge of the page by pulling my ruler down, keeping it lined up with my line, and then drawing the edge. I can reuse dots if I want. I don't have to make them new dots all the time. Nice, I'm all done. If I wanted, I could add more lines, but I'm gonna stop with 10 for now. It's time to color in those spaces. You can use any coloring material you want. Oil pastels, crayons, markers, whatever you want, it's fine. I'm gonna use watercolor paint because I find that painting goes a little bit faster. I can color a bigger space in a quicker amount of time. I also find that I don't leave quite as many white spaces when I paint as when I'm coloring. I've been activating my watercolor paint with a couple drops of water in each well. This gets the watercolor cakes ready to use. My goal is to paint this entire page without any 2 spaces of the same color touching each other. If I switch to a new color and I paint it next to a color that's still wet, they might bleed together, where the orange color kind of seeps into the other color. So to avoid that, what you can do is leave a space between the square you just painted and the next square that you pick. So I'm gonna go over here with the purple. I'm gonna stick with purple and just do a bunch of squares that are purple around my page. And then I'll switch to my next color. I'm gonna keep going until my whole paper's filled. I'm trying really hard to make sure that I don't have 2 spaces that are the same color next to each other. Oh man, I got really lucky with this purple one. It is the only color that would actually work in this space because I have every single color around the edge. If I had painted any of those spaces purple, there would have been a spot in my design where two spaces of the same color would have been next to each other. This is where it would have been kind of helpful for me to envision and plan a little bit more carefully before I began. As it was, I just got lucky. Now that you're done coloring in your artwork, it's time to do some cleaning. Your mom and dad will be oh so grateful if you take a few minutes and put your supplies away. If you painted, take your rag or paper towel and dip the corner into your cup of water and wipe up any paint that's on your table. I hope you had a great time art making. I'm sure that your project turned out awesome, and I can't wait to see it.